take a right to you occasionally. Well, we're discussing bringing martinis.
I try not to drink it all away, but I do my best. Good. So nice to see you here. Good. Nice to see you tonight. Simon, good. Happy to
What a shock, man. All you tough guys. I want to tell you a few things before we get started with the show. First, we want to welcome you to the Players Guild of Leonia's Civil War Drill Hall Theater, now celebrating our 91st season of live theater. Please take note of the 3 emergency exits, all marked with red exit signs. To your right where you came in, to your left, and ahead of you on your right alongside the stage. Now, there is no smoking allowed anywhere in the building and no photography or recording of any kind. Please turn off your cell phones and beepers and unwrap those noisy snacks now. We took away your guns as you came in, but you know we still have ours, so you know we mean it when we say no cell phones, okay? There are restrooms in the lobby of the building, always available, and in the lounge in the back. But the back is only open during intermission when dessert is served. The Leonia Police Department reminds us that it is illegal and dangerous to cross the street in front of the theater. Please cross at the traffic light on Moore Avenue. Don't cross the Leonia Police Department. Please take your program home so you'll have all dates and details of our upcoming shows and special events. And visit our website. Join our mailing list, sweetheart. Today we present Murder at the Cafe Noir by David Landau, with music and lyrics by Nikki Stern, directed by Angela Cozy. Don't make any sudden moves, just look sharp and pay attention to the director, Angela Cozy, and here she is.
I'm the stage manager. So welcome to the Cafe Noir. I just want to tell you that during intermission, everybody's going to get one of these forms to fill out to try to determine who done it. Okay, so pay attention. This show is interactive, so feel free to laugh. And this is like following directions. So it's like being in school again. So you're going to be asked to put your name on the paper. So please put your name on the paper. People don't listen. Okay, so enjoy the show, and we'll be collecting these. There's a show where we collect these. So enjoy yourself, and welcome to our performance.
Have you ever wished you could just close your eyes and wake up in the past? At a point in your life that seemed a trivial decision, but turned out to be the most important, perhaps worst mistake you ever made? Sure you have. I have lots of times. But this time, it was different. This time I wished I made a different choice. But deep down I knew that I wouldn't. That I couldn't. Right now you're probably asking yourself, what the hell is this guy talking about? Well, I'll tell you, in all the sordid details. First we'll start with who I am. That'll come in handy later. My handle is Richard Archer. But everyone seems to call me just plain Rick. I was weaned on TV reruns of Bogart and Mitchum movies. And after graduating last in my class at the John Jay College of Criminology, I became a private dick. You know, those sleazy guys that disgruntled spouses hire to get snapshots of following their disgruntled husbands. The sleazy snoops that cheap insurance companies hire to get snapshots of claimants playing athletic sports. The fools who really think life can be like those romantic movies of the 40s. Well, this time it was. Even the way it all started with some tacky dressed, well-to-do drunk hired me in a bar in Reno to find his runaway daughter. He paid me 5,000 clams in advance and plied me with a picture of a dame that had more curves than the West Coast Highway. Daddy's little girl had been nursing a degree in Grenada when the troops took the beach away from the sun worship. And after hearing about it from almost every American soldier on the island, I traced the doll to a few tiny forgotten islands in the Eastern Caribbean called the Grenadines. And that's what brought me here, to Cafe Noir. On hiatus, tough guys on the take, dames who pay forever for an innocent mistake. Been abroad so long, now it's the only life they know. Denizens and despots, they've got nowhere left to go. At Cafe Noir, a cheap island bar, the loneliness hangs like a cloud. Most of you will be passing on through, and the rest will get lost in the crowd. You come to Cafe Noir, an all-purpose bar, but don't look for the welcoming crew. If your money's okay, then you might as well stay, but I wouldn't if I were you. It was the sleaziest club around. And again, it was the only one. The characters that hung out there were a frightening sight. The manager was a Madame Thoreau, a lady who'd seen more of the underside of life than the motion picture rating system.
Every now and then a fancy ship may come too cold. Then the place gets lively, what with passengers and all. Easy to believe in luck, no matter what the cost. Till the ship sets sail, and then it's easy to feel lost. A cafe here on the island, drinking Caribbean food. Trying to get deep on the island. If you've got anything else you can lose.
You choose.
Cafe out of your typical bar, designed to make patrons forget. No, the liquor's not smooth.
like a string orchestra, perched at the exact moment before the conductor's baton swung and started that last movement. It was here. Now am I running?
Sheila, you're late.
I was detained
Detained?
by the St. Vincent police, Madame Thoreau. They've been questioning me for hours.
Actually, I'm surprised you came at all. I thought you might be in mourning.
And I thought you might be.
Well, we were both wrong, n'est-ce pas? Our customers await.
Let them wait.
You were in such a rush to leave with Andre last night, you didn't even notice you dropped one of your earrings.
Answering to no one, making my own rules. Free to cut my losses and to walk away from fools. Hey, I may sound cynical, but hey, that's how I sound. The island's not a half-bad spot, and this is what I found. A cafe on the island. Hey, it's where you're from or who you are. You can come, you can go, and there's always a show that plays out every night. You could disappear, you could cry in your beer. It's whatever you want it to be. Yeah, we take up space, but in this kind of place, there's an odd sense of being free.
We're free, that's why Cafe Noir is the perfect home for me.
Sheila Wonderly. At least that's the name she was going by when I found her. Her real name? Shilda Schickelmeyer. Can't say I blamed her for changing it, but I got a feeling it wasn't just her name that had done a lot of changing since Daddy had seen her last. Getting her to go back home to Burning Rock, Arkansas wasn't going to be an easy task, especially with the suspicious death of the club's owner. A man who went through women like Congress goes through tax relief. Taking away all that's good, and leaving behind a strict framework of sorrow and broken promises. Even if my runaway had wanted to run home, the cops wouldn't have let her. Turn the rest of my clams, I was going to have to get close to her and get her out of the mess she was in even deeper than she knew. That's Thoreau.
Politer people call me that. You're fresh blood around here. What can I do you for?
A day of work. I'm an American fellow down in this luck, and I just need a few more greenbacks to buy myself a ticket out of here.
And what makes you think I could use a stranger in my place?
Well, I read the owner passed away with the outgoing tide. I figured there might be a few faces that might decide they didn't have to show tonight.
You're a smart guy. Maybe there are a few deports this evening. Maybe I could use an extra hand. What makes you worth the risk?
No risk. At the end of the night, you can pay me what you think I'm worth.
Sounds fair and foolhardy. What are you running from?
I'm not running from anything.
A lot of people say that. They're just trying to fool themselves. We all have our little something to hide and protect. Something we don't want anyone to get too close to. Oh, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? I know you do. We already know all about you. Let me explain something to you, Mr.
Rick. Just plain Rick.
All right, Mr. Just Plain Rick. This is the Cafe Noir. It may look like a dump at times, but it's a very important place in these parts. It's a middle ground where the dishonest can be honest about it, where everyone is entitled to their secrets and everyone else is entitled to find them out. It's a place where anything and everything is for sale, and there's always a buyer. It's the only place like it in the world, Rick, because the shadows here offer total acceptance, no matter who you are or what you've done. Take our friend over here. Once the debutante of the decade, Until it was discovered she was running a prostitution ring out of her dormitory room at Radcliffe. You should have never given discounts to the professors, dear. It may have improved your transcripts, but look where it's got you. And another loyal patron. He collected on 19 life insurance policies in 19 different states in just 4 months, drowning deaths each time. Too bad the insurance company went bankrupt before you could finish collecting. If ever you try again, sweetheart, try 19 different insurance companies. And here is another regular. Such an innocent face. Who would have ever thought that as a teenager, she carved up her step-parents with a Remco electric knife the night before Thanksgiving and served them up to their relatives the next day. You would have gotten away with it too if your stepfather's gold tooth hadn't somehow gotten mixed in with the stuffing. So you see, Rick, everyone has secrets until they come to Cafe Noir.
Remind me never to come to your place for dinner.
Oh, she's the chef at the Grenadine Hyatt. But we were talking about you.
I wasn't.
What are you running away from?
I'll tell you a secret, Madame Thoreau. I never run away from anything. That's my problem.
Would be a very dangerous one around here. You're hired, Rick, for tonight. I like to live dangerously. But you know you're still alive. You can start by taking drink orders, and we'll have to find you a white jacket.
Do you think that wise, madam? Especially with the St. Vincent police.
I'm still manager here.
Perhaps you have managed more than just Andre's cafe.
You amuse me, Gutterman.
Would anyone here care for a drink?
Is it true what I heard you say?
One second. Depends on what you heard me say.
That you never run away from anything?
Yeah. I seem to have a problem with that. Unlike that stupid Scottish terrier we had when I was growing up. One day it decided to chase the neighbor's car. Fortunately that day, the neighbor was moving to Alaska.
I love a man with conviction.
Most of the men here have been convicted several times. I guess that explains why you've made love to so many of them.
At least I don't give in to the highest bidders. I just love to love, not to make money.
Maria, baby! I think we've hit pay dirt. Who are you?
Someone new your girlfriend's taken a liking to. This is Thursby, a 3-time offender wanted in Jamaica, Barbados, and the Bahamas for gun smuggling, manslaughter, and being a public nuisance. This is Rick, a total stranger that Madame put on for the night. Someone your voodoo queen has got the evil eye for. Perhaps I should leave the 3 of you alone.
Going? Was that a goodbye kiss?
Maria! Maria, I found something's gonna make us rich!
You got me into it. I figured the least you can do was get me out of it.
Smart guy, huh? Smart guys aren't my type.
Very good, Mr. Rick. You know, it's always nice to meet a man who knows how to handle a truly volatile situation. Perhaps your talents in that area extend beyond domestic problems?
Perhaps, Mr.
Cairo, Anthony Cairo. I'm a dealer in the black market. I get you anything for a price.
What is it you can't seem to get for yourself?
Insightful as well. You're a man of many surprises, Mr. Rick. Yes, freedom to answer your question. Freedom to leave this time-forgotten island. Have you noticed how everyone and everything here seems to have stepped out of a 1940s movie? And have you ever been on a tropical island where everything was so gray? Just look at the name of this club, Cafe Noir.
Well, then you fit right in here. Why would you want to leave?
I have more than enough reasons, Mr. Rick. Let me assure you. Would my wanting to leave fit as well?
With the murder of the club's owner, your wanting to leave might fit in all too well. What I don't get is what's stopping you.
Gabaro's dead. Look, he was supposed to supply me with not only the passport, but passage on one of his ships. You see, Mr. Rick, Judd?
Plain Rick.
Yes, Mr. Just Plain Rick. Look, I'm a man without an identity. I'm a citizen of no country, a fugitive with a new face. Courtesy of a doctor friend of Monsieur Gabaro, whom I had to pay plenty. I wish you would have used some anesthesia.
A little trouble with the law?
If it was only that simple. You see, I once had the folly to redirect a certain shipment of black market goods, in order to affect a higher personal profit. Well, shall we say the supplier of these goods did not appreciate my entrepreneurial instincts. So, a change in facial scenery became a necessity for life. Now, my new passport and ticket are in an office on the other side of the club. Now, being an associate of Monsieur Gabaro, I'm being watched closely by the St. Vincent police, but you're a stranger. A face they'd easily forget. As if they noticed it at all.
Gee, thanks a lot, fella.
Well, I am prepared to make this small gesture worth your while.
Breaking into a deceased man's office doesn't sound like that small a gesture to me.
Even if one were to have the key.
I suppose that might make it a little easier, but
Look, the office in question is on the other side of the club.
then why don't you just do it yourself?
The walls have eyes, my friend. The walls have eyes.
Okay, folks, what would you have done? This is the audience participation part of the show. By a show of hands, you will determine what I do next. How many say I should break into the deceased man's office for Mr. Cairo's gray envelope? And how many say I should ignore Mr. Cairo and pursue the Dane with a set of parabolas that would send a construction crew into double overtime? Sheila Wonderly, that is. Not a very curious crowd, are we? I know where your minds are at. You want me to tail Miss Wonderly's tail? Okay, majority rules, not that I mind. Perhaps there'll be a few fringe benefits I'll owe you some thanks for later.
Ladies and gentlemen, and I use the term indiscriminately, we'll now take this opportunity to mingle with our guests.
Hey, I never seen him before. Did you see him? I'm here every night. I never seen him before.
I'm Anthony Cairo. I'm a dealer in goods you never pay anything to try to see cheap now. Then I interest you, I know Russian, but the capsule is very exquisite, more exquisite. His Uncle Anthony sent those anchovies. Give him 40 bottles of water, in case you want. Now, to go along with this, we also have a bottle of imported Jamaican rum. Now, one bottle goes with the anchovies. But if you order 2 bottles, and a place with that,
whatever you want, I get it. Okay, take a short little vacation and you're gonna get that vodka. Am I wrong? You gotta be ready for anything in a place like this, okay? It's tough town, it's a tough town. This island, you never know what's gonna happen. I was down at the police station all morning, you know? That cop Rickfield, he's no good, that Blackfoot. He rolls me out of bed. 8 o'clock in the morning, like I had something to do with Gavro's death. Man, nobody liked Gavro, but come on, I get along with everybody. Except this new guy, I've never seen him before. You seen him before? Where'd he come from? Wearing a hat indoors. What kind of a guy is that, huh? You see him making eyes at my girl, Maria. She's with me, okay? You got that? You call me, okay? Thursday. You let me know. You see him giving my girl a hard time, you let me know, okay?
Good evening, madam. So nice to see you here. How are you? Simon Benjamin, attorney at law. So nice to see you. Absolute pleasure. Yes, I specialize in criminal defense and the management of process matters. Anything financial. Thank you. So nice to see you here tonight. Enjoy it.
I never seen it before.
Actually, I'm not surprised to find you in a place like this.
And where would you be surprised to find me?
A convent, for one. It's certainly not the Dead Man's Cafe.
Some men, even when they're dead, can control a woman.
And you like it that way.
Why would I?
Because then you could blame whatever trouble you're in on someone else. Someone who isn't around to say otherwise.
You're a smart guy, Mr. Rick. Always knowing what to say, how to say it, who to say it to. What do you want? A medal?
I could think of something I'd like a whole lot more. Something a lot softer, wetter, sweeter.
Something like that?
It's something like that. It's something like this. But not that.
I thought you were a tough guy.
You think all guys are tough guys. You should be heartless towards them before they can become heartless towards you.
What do you know?
I know you're always running away, never getting anywhere. Because what you're really running away from is always right behind you, like your shadow, only deeper.
Don't pretend to know me, Mr. Just Plain Rick.
I never pretend.
So, you have come to take little Miss Love for Sale back to Daddy.
Where did you hear that? Did you tell her that?
Oh, forget about her. She is bad karma. I tell you, she and Andre had a deal. He got her once a week. The rest of the time, he got her the biggest spenders in the Caribbean. She won't be going much further away than St. Vincent Prison.
What if she didn't do it?
A lot of people in St. Vincent Prison didn't do it. At least not with the right people.
You sound like you know what you're talking about, Maria.
I should. My mother died in that prison and all because she loved the wrong man.
Your father?
He was a politician, white bread and British to the hilt. Then one day on the tour of the Outer Islands, he saw my mother and was possessed by her magic. It was an odd match. He, an Oxford appointee of the Queen, and she, a voodoo priestess and a descendant of a runaway slave. It was a time of political upheaval. The French and African factions wanted more voice in the government, and the British, they feared a loss of control. But my mother became their voice, and my father soon fell out of favor. After the bombing of a police station, my mother was arrested, even though she had been in the arms of my father at the time. My father was transferred by the British Parliament to the Falkland Islands. I was born in St. Vincent Prison, the same cell my mother died in. Soon after it was discovered the bombing was the work of the French Radical Liberté Party.
I'm sorry, Maria. Nothing can make up for the raw deal life hands some of us. Your father?
He doesn't even know I exist!
Let go of her!
You got things a little wrong here, fella.
Yeah, sure, like I had it wrong with that frog Andre.
Thursby!
You mean Andre Gavreau?
He was always groping after her as if he didn't get enough already.
Thursby, no!
Now you come in here, nosing around.
Thursby, did your mother ever tell you not to play the shark
Thursby,
game?
please! He doesn't know what he's saying. He's insanely jealous.
What's going on here?
Thursby was just showing me some of the dance steps he learned in West Side Store.
I see you just met this girl named Maria.
Sorry about getting you wet like that, but I had a choice. You get wet, or I get stabbed. It wasn't a tough choice.
You really do liven the place up. Just plain, Rick.
So tell me, madam, you seem to know more about Andre than anyone else, even the police.
Are you the police?
No, madam. I'm my own man, which is the loneliest kind of all.
Then why should I tell you anything?
Because the longer Andre Gavreau's murder is on the loose, the longer the St. Vincent police will dig deep into this place and get evidence that'll close you down forever. Something they didn't do before due to Andre's connections, I suspect.
You're a very intuitive man, Mr. Rick. But why do you want to find Andre's murderer? Not for the preservation of Café Noir.
I have my reasons. Were you and Andre a team?
Once, yes. For a while, I was his partner in life. I was your typical radical college student, longing for a worthy cause to jump behind and make sacrifices for, you know, the standard fool-hearted romantic that colleges put out with as much volume as these islands grow bananas. And then I met Andre and his radical French political party. He was a mature and handsome and sexy man, piercing eyes and a hypnotic voice. Oh, he was the kind of man a girl falls in love with easily. Oh, well, he was everything I ever dreamed of, and I gave him everything. So I joined him in his fight for French liberté, and found myself doing things I never thought I ever could or would do. Slowly, politics turned to smuggling. The black market was much more profitable than smuggling, and his political connections helped his enterprise flourish. Women have a weakness for dangerous men, and he was mine. You could even surprise yourself at how far you'll go when you're hopelessly in love with someone. I never stopped loving him.
He stopped loving you.
No, not stopped. Just changed.
Madam, it is imperative that I speak to you. Someone has been in Andre Gavreau's office.
The motives for Andre Gavreau's murder were coming fast and furious. Unfortunately, the gal I had to clear was the last person seen with the deceased before he washed up on the beach with 2 slugs in him. But the violently jealous Thursby looked like a pill even the St. Vincent police would swallow. Although suddenly it looked like Thursby swallowed some lead. Who was it, Thursby? Who?
Go away!
Come on, Thursby, cough it up! Spit it out! Sing!
It was!
It was the click of the barrel, the crack of the 22. You turned at the sound and found it was meant for you. I wanted to take Maria far from us. How could I know the killer would not miss? Honestly, what I did for love, and now I'm ice, courtesy of. Who was it, Thursby? Who? It was the click of the barrel, the crack of the 22. You turned at the sound and found it was meant for you. Was it, Thursby? Who was it? It was!
When I said sing, I didn't mean literally.
That's what comes from living the way he did. Live by the sword, die by the sword, and all that.
Shut up, Gutterman. Okay, somebody must be responsible for this. You promise you'll find out who, Mr. Rick.
It's a promise, Maria.
One shouldn't make promises one can't keep, Mr. Rick.
Never do, Mr. Gutterman. I never do.
I think we should remove Mr. Thursby from the dining area. I'm sure the St. Vincent health officials would agree. We'll put him in Andre's office until the St. Vincent police get here.
We had a chat.
About what, Mr. Gutterman?
About the envelopes illegally obtained from Andre Gavreau's office. As the Cafe Noir's legal counsel, I am executor to Monsieur Gavreau's estate. Therefore, I must warn you that removal or exposure...
What is in these alleged missing envelopes?
Documents, photographs...
Memoirs Andre kept on some of his dear friends. You will never collect them all. Insurance against any wise guy who wanted to break the hold he had on him. I know there are more. Possibly even under each table. Go on, look. We won't have to serve dessert to the entire police force.
Schickelmeier, ja?
Excuse me.
Ja, there is Dartmoor's. Mrs. Schickelmeier's missing daughter, Nancy.
My name is Sheila. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Her name is Shilda. Nancy is your mother. I just left her on St. Martin where she's recovering. She's always recovering, your mother.
What do you want?
It's really a question of what you don't want, isn't it? I read in the paper about the unfortunate death of Herr Gavreau. He was a business acquaintance.
Then you must be a criminal.
Oh, as criminal what an impetuous young girl can do to her father's reputation. Surprising what opportunities a spur-of-the-moment business trip might bring, yeah?
My name is Sheila Wonderly.
Listen to my face. If the lady says her name is Sheila Wonderly, it's Sheila Wonderly. You know, you sort of look like... For me? How sweet. It's a little small, don't you think? But I bet everything about a guy like you is small.
Release him, Mr. Rick. You know, you look a lot like...
Madame Poirot, yeah?
Yeah, yes. And you are?
Herr Van Gilder. Perhaps you've heard Andre speak of me?
Perhaps, Herr Van Gilder.
Then perhaps we could talk in private.
If you'll follow me.
Mein gun, Herr Rick?
Sorry, it's mine now. Nothing to remember you by.
You know my name's not Wonderly, don't you?
Your father hired me to find you.
I hope he's paying you well. He can afford it.
So what makes a rich girl like you change into
Too polite to say it. What do they call it on TV nowadays? Working girl? Streetwalker? Pro? My father is filthy rich, Ricky baby. And he got that way by promising people something no one can deliver. Salvation. My father is a big-time evangelist. Bet he didn't tell you that, did he?
Actually, no.
My father raised me strict and narrow to be a proper little girl, seen and never heard. My mother and I were part of his image. An image sells. Just look at political elections. But we were just image. We were left alone, isolated from the rest of the sinful world. My mother became an alcoholic. My father became worried what effect she might have on me. So he sent me to college in Grenada to become a nurse. Suddenly, I discovered a world I didn't know existed. The world I was sheltered from and therefore couldn't cope with. I became addicted to sex, got wasted on drugs, and flunked out of college. I couldn't go back, not to my pious father. So I went further into the hole he dug for me by protecting me too much. Andre got me out of a jam I got into, while stowing away on board a luxury liner and making a mint on my back from wealthy retirees whose wives were busy shopping or playing shuffleboard. He even got me off the drugs. He looked out for me.
He also blackmailed your father with these photographs. There's even a record of when he sent your father these pictures and when payments were received. And yet you loved Andre, along with a host of his friends, from what I heard. Sorry, sweetheart. Slapping is reserved for ladies.
No woman was a lady when Andre was around. He got more ass than a toilet seat at Grand Central Station. There ain't a good-looking dame in this part of the Caribbean that hasn't watched the sunrise from Andre's bed. Ain't that right, sister? Don't play dumb with me. I saw you leave with Andre 2 nights ago. And this one, over here, she had all of last weekend with him. Needless to say, there are plenty of men who wanted Andre dead because of plenty of women who found him alive.
But you left with him alive last night, and this morning he washed up dead. That puts you in a tight spot.
I don't like you, Mr. Rick.
Sure you do. In fact, you love him. You just don't know it yet.
Why in God's name would I ever love you?
Because I'm going to get you out of this mess. The one Andre and his murderer got you into.
shining armor? Or do you fancy yourself more the Bogart tag, and I'm your femme fatale? Forget it. You're not my type.
And what exactly is your type?
Her type. I'll tell you. She likes them whole. She likes them steep. She likes them better. Guys, not breathing. So many other men act up that way. Quite a coincidence, wouldn't you say? She likes them steep. She likes them old. Don't get too old, it just gets wasted. She seems to run through the fellas fast. Ain't it a shame that her affairs, they don't last? All I can tell you is, based on her past, she likes them bold and steep. She likes them old, she likes them steep. It's always better, it's horizontal. Other girls would want their guy to treat them nice. She seems to like her men as cold as ice. She likes them hard as nails. She never fails to find a guy who buys it. She points her finger and the fools come round. It won't be long before they're all shut down. It always happens when she's out of town. Watch out, my friend. It could happen again. She likes them cold and stiff and dead. Oh yeah.
I've always liked the way you sing, Maria.
Thank you, Gentlemen. That's the first nice thing you've ever said.
Hey there, Ben Gilbert! What are you doing here? Who are you trying to put the touch on?
It falls! It falls!
If he sings, I'm going to shoot him. I just don't like dying songs. They're so depressing.
Well, Madame Thoreau, I'm afraid that Andre's office will have matching bookends.
Doesn't he look like...
Not in the least.
Do people always dab when they meet you, Mr. Rick?
Only when they have important information I haven't gotten yet. So play it safe. Don't keep any secrets from me.
Madam, the police have arrived at the back entrance. They requested an interview with each of us. I advise we make a minimal compliance to avoid potentially further and more damaging investigation by the authorities.
Whatever you advise, Mr. Gutterman. Girls?
Mr. Rick. What a peculiar name.
It's Archer. Richard Archer. But everyone seems to just call me Rick.
Not everyone, Mr. Archer. Perhaps it's time we had that chat.
I suppose it would be preferable than chatting with the St. Vincent police. Tell me, Gutterman, how do you fit in here? What did Andre have on you?
Nothing, Mr. Archer. Nothing at all. Oh, if you must know, I was a successful barrister in the courts of London, managing some of the most prestigious trusts and estates with the most established families in Britain. Yes, I may not have had the glamour of your Perry Mason, but I assure you I was financially much better off. Yes, to this I brought one unfortunate weakness, a love of ladies. Oh, not those self-centered young and beautiful bimbos that present society admires with awe and envy. Oh, no, Mr. Archer. I love that rare commodity of a true lady who has the time to learn about the real world, who understands that there is a difference between desire and accessibility. The world has long stopped producing this type of lady, Mr. Archer. So when I find one, I find myself doing anything for them. Anything. Tonight, your place, midnight, where pearls. As I was saying, Mr. Archer, unfortunately, the well-established families of Britain possess just a few too many such women, and my indiscretions led to social humiliation and a significant loss of clientele. I decided I needed to go far away, somewhere where I could start anew. Barbados was about as far as what limited savings I had left would afford me. It was there that I met Madame Thoreau, and soon found myself representing this establishment. But enough of me, Mr. Archer. It is time for us to discuss what we have to discuss.
Pardon my ignorance, Gutterman, but what is that?
That, Mr. Archer, is this. As they say every year in your Hollywood, the envelope, please.
You must be new at this, Gutterman. Never let your pigeon reach into his own pocket until you patted him down first. He might pull out a gun too, and then where are you?
And then where are we, Mr. Archer?
Between a rock and a hard place. Otherwise, called a stalemate.
Oh, I must warn you, Mr. Archer. At this range, it would be terribly unlikely for me to miss. Therefore, I must insist that you give me the envelope.
For either of us to miss. What's so important about the envelope? Everybody here already knows the contents of the envelope. We made sure of that.
Oh, the police records! Ha ha! If it is already public record, of what possible importance is it? The other gray envelope, Mr. Archer!
You mean the one with the pictures of Sheila? You're going to start dealing in pornography, Gutterman?
Oh, obviously not that gray envelope, Mr. Archer!
Well, we're running out of gray envelopes. Maybe you should send someone to a stationery store, perhaps get something a little more colorful.
This is not a joking matter, Mr. Archer! I assure you, I am deadly serious!
3 people are seriously dead.
Soon, maybe 4! 5. The choice is yours.
Okay, folks, here we go again. By a show of hands, how many say I hand over the envelope to our ambiguous attorney here? And how many say I call this buffoon's bluff? If I can't see what's inside, nobody can. Just call me a poor sport.
Very good, Mr. Archer. Yes, yes. Very good indeed.
Police! Deputy Inspector Rickville, Kingston Dispatch!
Doesn't he look like it?
So, this is the legendary Cafe Noir, eh? Right, it does cater to the lowest of the low. I have a few questions for you blokes, not that I trust any of your bloody answers.
You, sir, are
Deputy Inspector, we have an arrangement. No police past the back office or the kitchen. We guarantee our patrons' privacy.
I guarantee there's a lot of arrest warrants I could serve here.
Dessert is the only thing being served here, Deputy Inspector, and your presence is spoiling everyone's appetite. Now, out you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now take a short break. Deputy Inspector, are you still here? No discussion, out you go.
Small matter, 2 corpses in that back office that I'd say warrants some discussion.
Do you have a discussion warrant, Deputy Inspector?
Don't be frivolous with the law, young lady.
But perhaps Ms. Wonderly has a point. After all, you need a search warrant to search.
And an arrest warrant to make an arrest, so why not a discussion warrant to warrant a discussion?
Sounds logical to me. Where's your discussion warrant, Deputy Inspector?
Oh, bloody balmy! Now see here, I'm the assigned constable, and I demand some cooperation.
Well, Mr. Gutterman is our attorney and legal counsel, Deputy Inspector.
And as such, Deputy Inspector Rigfield, I have already advised my clients to agree to make statements and to submit to some brief questioning. But if you intend to use coercion and begin criminal interrogations, I must demand that either formal charges be filed through the proper channels, or I shall be forced to file charges of harassment and police intimidation, not to mention seeking damages for the potential loss of business income caused by your incompetence.
I just want to ask a few bloody questions. And what's the meaning of all this here emphasis everyone's placing on deputy?
You just kept your goat, Rigfield, and you're letting
And who the hell are you?
Richard Archer, private investigator. I was granted a temporary territorial extension by the St. Vincent authorities. You can check with the Records Division in Kingston.
I don't like balmy private licenses.
You certainly like words beginning in B. Blasted, balmy, bloody.
This is police business.
Not until there are officially filed charges, Deputy Inspector. At the moment, you are merely responding to my call, reporting the discovery of 2 corpses.
Discovery? They were both bloody iced right under your very noses, weren't they?
Listen, Rigfield, I've been working this place all night. I know how to deal with these characters, and I think I can work it so we both get what we came here for.
You can work it. Typical Yank peeper, coming in here, telling us how to do our job.
Well, somebody better. You're making a real mess of it.
Now look here, I'm not leaving until I find the person responsible for the death of those 2 sticks holding up both ends of that bookcase in that back office.
How would you like to find Andre Gavreau's murderer in the process? If you wouldn't be stuck with that deputy prefix anymore.
You know who plugged Gavreau?
You got a damn good idea. If you give me 15 minutes, I'll hand you the whole thing in one nice, neat package.
Oh, I dream on, peeper.
The deed to Cafe Noir is a buried treasure, Rigfield. It's not only the deed to this cafe, but to a few square miles of land on Tobago Cay where Andre's body was found, and where Resorts International is putting up a casino. I read it during dessert. I bet he stood to make a bundle off that sale.
You're as bad as a good lawyer, Mr. Archer. Oh, Andre wanted to sell, but I convinced him to lease the land for a share of the gross receipts. A very lucrative arrangement. One could almost afford to go straight. I suppose that envelope you destroyed merely contained a few embarrassing photographic negatives.
I don't want pictures. I want the real thing.
The way you're playing your cards tonight, you just may get it.
You know, I'm disappointed in you, Mr. Rick, and after I paid you to get me that envelope...
Thursby got to it first. He handed it to me as he lost his final breath. Thought it would be his ticket out of here, which in a way it was. Unfortunately, it wasn't the way Thursby had hoped.
So Thursby was washed out for the dirty deed, eh?
Maybe. Maybe not.
Oh, I thought you just spouted it. It's a virtual gold mine.
Sure it is. But as he was dying, Thursby also mentioned he figured out who Andre's murderer was.
Dead men tell no tales, eh?
Such a way with words, Deputy Inspector.
Andre was shot twice, right, Rickfield?
Now, wise guy, you know that.
It was in the paper. I suppose Andre's killer was somebody he was well acquainted with.
Well, fair enough guess. The bullet's entered from a lower angle. Some powder even discovered on the outside of his suit jacket. Talking into that barrel was bloody close. His wallet was still on him. Quite a bit of cash in it too, along with his watch and most of his jewelry.
What caliber? Van Gilder's piece. It's a 32. Never fired. Mr. Gutterman's gun, on the other hand.
38. And it's not even loaded.
It doesn't mean you couldn't have used a different gun to wash away Gavreau and then Thursby. Ventilation in Thursby looked like 22 variety.
Van Gilder knew Andre, and that he had secrets over some of his friends. Upon hearing of Andre's death, Van Gilder figured he could use that information to make a quick killing, which is exactly what somebody did to him, cutting him out of the picture with a butcher's knife borrowed from the kitchen. Who knows what, if anything, Van Gilder really knew. But after Thursby, panic started setting in on our killer, who decided not to take any chances.
Not quite wise guy. Van Gilder didn't hear about Gavreau's death. He was the bloke who discovered the body. Van Gilder ran a sightseeing boat tour business, along with a little bit of smuggling on the side.
You said most of Andre's jewelry was armed. What was missing?
Well, nothing for sure, but there was a band of white about his suntanned left ring finger.
Isn't it true, Maria, that the personal effect of the victim is utilizing the employment of a voodoo doll?
What do you imply, Mr. Gutterman?
Perhaps, Deputy Inspector, you should be made aware of Maria's talents and the major source of her income, the ancient art of voodoo.
It is a religion.
Is that what you were doing at closing last night when you snapped that chicken's neck in the kitchen? You can sell anything you want here, Maria, but no practicing of rituals. We've been through all these before.
You're the one who threw the chicken blood on Andre and me from the shadows last night. You witch! You ruined my favorite threat. I will ruin more than that if you killed my Thursby.
Oh, right, what with your evil eyes?
Oh, do not jest. Miss LaRue is quite famous in these parts. Her magic has never been known to fail.
As it did not fail you last night, Mr. Cairo.
What does she mean by that?
Nothing, Inspector. I assure you, absolutely nothing.
It's definitely something if you started calling me Inspector.
Andre Gavreau died last night, did he not?
He was murdered last night.
But he is dead, thus the spell took and the money is mine.
Spell? Money?
Maria only collects, Deputy Inspector, if the spells work.
How much did you pay her, Cairo? What's the going rate for a voodoo doll?
I don't have a voodoo doll. Got to search.
But when I arrived at the beginning of this evening, I saw Mr. Cairo with a small wrapped bundle.
What was in that bundle? Anyone here see a small wrap bundle lying about this place?
Go on. You see one? Look under your seat. Look under the table. Look around. Help us out here. Assist the police with their inquiries. You see a small one? Please, please. Have a look. Have a look. Perhaps you can help.
Ah! 2 pains in the chest, exactly where Andre was shot. But how could you?
She could have made the doll after the discovery of the body.
No, I saw her putting the pins in that doll last night after closing. just before I left with Andre. I didn't think much about it at the time. Marie's always doing strange things.
Well, I've not only putting 2 pins in the doll, but 2 slugs in the deceased as well.
Let us not forget that it was Mr. Cairo who paid for Maria's services, that special magical touch.
Everybody wanted Garrow dead. Why is everybody picking on me?
Not everyone. Gotta been focusing all the attention on you, Cairo.
Like a fox trying to throw off the hounds.
You amuse me, Mr. Archer. Of course I had a motive, but so did everyone else here, including your Ms. Wonderlay.
The question is who had another motive to bump off Thursby and Van Gilder as well. And of what importance is the thing that Van Gilder slipped to me, his life slipped from him.
It's the balmy earring we found on the beach last night beside the corpse. We thought it got washed away with the tide while we were fending off those bloody albatrosses. Van Gilder must have pinched it. This case has me stymied. A 2-bit thug gets wasted by the same gun that washed away Gad Road. 5 suspects who'd raise a glass to his demise rather than attend his wake. A voodoo doll with 2 pins right where the deceased took 2 slugs to the chest. And a disappearing earring that turns up on a dead black man.
Well, Deputy Inspector Redfield, with you on the case, I'm sure everyone will get their just deserts.
They're just desserts. Isn't that what criminal investigations are all about? That's certainly one of the reasons murder mysteries are so popular. In a world full of chaos and corruption, only the mystery guarantees that in the end, everything will become clear and good will triumph over evil. That's what made me want to become a detective in the first place. But in real life, nothing is clear. And all too often, evil reaps the rewards while the good suffer the injustices. I knew whose hearing that was, all right. It was only a matter of time before Ritfield and the rest of the St. Vincent police put the picture together for themselves. But what was the real picture? Andre Gavreau was a rotten man who left behind 5 lost people with some solid motives to deep six them. But only one pulled the trigger of a small .22 that sent Andre on an eternal vacation to Hades. My question to you is, which one? We'll now collect your guesses. Please make sure your name's on them and pass them to your left.
This is the place where they're inquiring into a piece of wood.
You got your guess? Remember, it wasn't Rick. Don't let the black clothes through.
However, I should warn you that if you happen to select the murderer correctly, you may be required to attend his trial. So if you chronically may know tomorrow, you will have to wait. You see, we practice a system of justice in these parts descended from the code of Aguirre, trial by ballot. And so, if the case is reversed on intermission, you will be required to testify. Kindly fill out those ballots and pass that down. We're not getting slipping.
Money's the root of all evil. Atlantic City, Las Vegas. He's an attorney. Read the paper. They're all corrupt.
We all vote for Maria.
Thank you, madam. So nice to see you.
Did you vote for Maria? obviously agrees with her dome. How else would she person know to shoot them in the same spots? Because now she gets money. She kills the murderer, the one her mother.
Does anyone recognise this earring or remember who it might belong to? Whose is it? Who? Speak up, whose is it?
I remember how lovely you looked in those earrings last night, Miss Wonderlane.
Tell me again, what's my motive? I seem to have forgotten.
Those photographs that Andre was blackmailing your righteous father with, kid. Of course.
Yes, but you want a piece of that casino deal.
I set up that deal. Andre would have squandered the whole thing.
But all he was giving you was your simple painter.
But you, Mr. Cairo, tried everything to break Andre's hold over you. The knowledge of your true identity. Something that was never tangible, but always locked inside Andre's head.
And you, Mesdames, are the woman scorned. The unrequited love of the wife Andre rejected to chase after cheap features like Miss Wonderly, which he devoured before your very eyes, night after night.
And you, Maria, hated Andre because it was him and his libertarian that bombed a police station years ago, an event that resulted in your mother's death. Any one of you could have picked up my lost earring last night and placed it on the beach next to the corpse.
And you could have put it there yourself.
Come on, Whitfield. You're a sharp guy. I know you figured out who the murderer is.
I have.
Sure. I can follow your thinking. I don't know either if it was coincidence or something more arcane that explained the pins in Maria's doll being so accurate. But I do know that neither the newspapers nor you, Whitfield, ever mentioned where Andre was shot. Only that there were 2 bullet wounds. Could have been in the head, neck, back, side. But when Maria's doll was revealed, our killer slipped up by remarking out loud that the pins were in the chest, the exact spot where Andre was shot. Yeah, you're a sharp guy to catch that, Whitfield. Because then all the other pieces fell into place. Like the person who was the last person to leave this place last night would be the most likely to pick up a lost pair of earrings. And only that person would stand to gain both financially and emotionally by pumping 222 slugs into Andre's chest and bothering to pick the ring off his left ring finger. His wedding ring, no doubt. You can even surprise yourself at how far you'd go when you're hopelessly in love with someone. That's what you told me last night. Right, Madame Thoreau? I suppose you went pretty damn far. Didn't you?
I'm sure you'll make full inspector in no time, Deputy Inspector Whitfield. But I'm not cut out for prison, even on St. Vincent Island. I'm sorry, Marie, I didn't know you loved Thursby that much. If I had, maybe I wouldn't have panicked. Do me a favor?
Sure. Hard to refuse a lady with a loaded gun.
Make sure Cafe Noir stays open. There really is a place for it in a world as messed up as this one.
Oh, madam! My beloved lady! Why? I could have got you off with a plea bargain. I could have tried.
It is too late.
Never did collect the rest of the money from Sheila's father. Because when I make a promise, as unusual as it is this day and age, I keep it. Never promised the Reverend I'd bring back his little girl. that I'd find her. Which I did. But I made another promise that night. A promise to a woman with her own philosophy of life and her own code of ethics. A promise I've kept to this day. So if you ever get down to the lesser-known islands in the Eastern Caribbean, stop by Mystique in the Grenadines. My co-manager, Sheila, and I will give you a drink on the house at the Cafe Noir.
Things before we get started with the show. First, we want to welcome you to the Players Guild of Leonia Civil War Drill Hall Theater, now celebrating our 91st season of live theater. Please take note of the 3 emergency exits, all marked with red exit signs. To your right where you came in, to your left, and ahead of you on your right alongside the stage. Now, there is no smoking allowed anywhere in the building and no photography or recording of any kind. Please turn off your cell phones and beepers and unwrap those noisy snacks now. We took away your guns as you came in, but you know we still have ours, so you know we mean it when we say no cell phones. Okay? okay? There are restrooms in the lobby of the building, always available, and in the lounge in the back. But the back is only open during intermission when dessert is served. The Leonia Police Department reminds us that it is illegal and dangerous to cross the street in front of the theater. Please cross at the traffic light on Moore Avenue. Don't cross the Leonia Police Department. Please take your program home so you'll have all dates and details of our upcoming shows and special events. And visit our website. Join our mailing list, sweetheart. Today we present Murder at the Cafe Noir by David Landau, with music and lyrics by Nicky Stern, directed by Angela Cozy. Don't make any sudden moves, just look sharp and pay attention to the director, Angela Cozy, and here she is.
Angela Cozy, our director, is in Italy on vacation. So I'm Michael Telpowski, I'm the stage manager. So welcome to the Cafe Noir. I just want to tell you that during intermission, everybody's going to get one of these forms to fill out to try to determine who done it. Okay, so attention. This show is interactive, so feel free to laugh. And this is like following directions. So it's like being in school again. So you're going to be asked to put your name on the paper. So please put your name on the paper. People don't listen. Okay, so enjoy the show, and we'll be collecting these. There's a show where we collect these. So enjoy yourself, and welcome to our performance.
Have you ever wished you could just close your eyes and wake up in the past? At a point in your life that seemed a trivial decision, but turned out to be the most important and perhaps worst mistake you ever made? Sure you have. I have lots of times. But this time, it was different.